think this is a great session that Frank has put together, because like I said in my email, you know, all of us that have been around for a while, there's no better way to learn and kind of mimic and pick up ideas than from other agents who have been doing this and are successful at it. And so it's always good when we do these things. By the way, if you didn't pay your fee, your ticket fee, you can pay me afterwards. It's $50 a head, right? Jeff gets 25, I get 25. No, well, I'm going to give Frank 5 of mine. But anyway, so we'll deal with that later. But anyway, I was extremely pleased when Jeff agreed to come this morning. Jeff has been in this business for a long time, and he'll tell y'all that. I've known him for quite a few years, and he's the kind of agent that just comes and does his work, and he's pretty quiet about it, but you look around and it's like, wow, this guy's really, really busy. So, Jeff, thanks a lot, and we really appreciate you doing this, so look forward to hearing from you and learning about your success story.
Buddy's right. This is the last time you'll see me up here. I'm a very private person when it comes to my business. I'm here all the time, so you think that I'm not private, but I am. And but there's one reason that I'm up here, and I'll get to that later. Someone that helped me. Frank said, talk about how to create business. Well, quite frankly, I don't remember how I created my business, and that's in seriousness. I started 17 years ago. I came out of, I was in the apparel business for 20 years, ladies, sportswear and swimwear, totally different. And I don't know how I picked real estate. The Lord led me here, so he's laughing right now because I'm not a people person. I'm not the type that likes to get up in front of anybody, anywhere. You don't see my picture. I don't advertise that way or stuff like that. So it's not me that did this. It's powers from above. So based on that, I don't really remember how I created business. What I do remember is that I just did a lot of stuff and just went bang, 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 bang. So my talk today is not so much how I created my business, it's how I would create it perhaps now based on what I did wrong and what I did right. Because I wasted a lot of time, but I think when you get into something, you try just about everything, because you know what works for me may not work for you. So there will be disclaimers that you will sign when you leave that I'm not liable for any failures or harm that comes to you, because I don't know what Kim said last week, but it'd probably be totally different. And then come again next week or whoever's talking, and you have to decide what your personality is and be honest with you. What are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? And again, being honest with you, it took me quite a while to admit my weaknesses and get out of that. Just because so-and-so does that, I'm not good at that. So based on that, I'm going to just take you through, you know, if I were going to start the business, and then I think I can share and be beneficial in how to maintain business, which is probably harder to do than create business. So if I were starting today, and I know what I know now, and I haven't spent money yet, because when you start, and real estate's expensive, we all know that. And to create business, you have to spend money. As well as being private and not really liking people, I'm cheap. My other business, return on investment was a big thing, and that's what I look at. So for me to spend business early, especially in the situation I was in, it didn't happen. So now, if I were in the same situation and I jumped into this, you look at free things, and I'm sorry that the old agents here. I really want to talk to people I don't know that are new agents like that, and so you look for free things. How can I get return on investment for free? Floor time. You know, it's sometimes a pain in the neck. You think, why am I here? When you do floor time, plan something. Come in and sit at your desk and get something accomplished, which would be other things I'm going to talk about later. If you get one thing off of floor time a year, you're doing good. You may get up leases. You know, that's that 5-letter word that I try to get away from, and you can't seem to get away from it. But they may buy a house someday. So floor time, take floor time. Open houses. Less than 1% of open houses sell because of an open house. Why do you do them? You probably know you're trying to create buyers. I did them for the first 6 months or something. They were totally worthless. I don't do them now. I offer it when I go on a listing, but explain that I'm not sitting in your house from 1 to 5 or something like that, but we'll find someone that would be happy to. But here's I'll probably go off on tangents through this thing. When I do my listing agreement, because I say something negative about an open house, I come back with a positive and say, I have your house on open house 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Most people, as you all know now, are looking at the internet first, and that's where they're on open house. Lead Street. No offense, Remax. I did that very religiously. You know, the more you get on the site, the more leads you get and stuff like that. I got maybe one for a couple of years' work, and it got to a point where I didn't have time to do everything, so I don't do it like I used to. But you know, if you're starting out, if I'm starting out right now, I've got time. Log into Lead Street every day. That's how you get the leads, the more you log in. The big deal is sphere of influence. I had absolutely no sphere of influence being in the apparel business and not being in Kingwood all the time. If I'm getting into business, I'm going to determine what my sphere of influence is. The only thing that I did regularly in Kingwood was church. So that was the beginning of my business, sphere of influence like that. Determine that. Maybe where you live. You can market yourself or make people aware is a better word that you're in the real estate now. They may not be selling their house, but they come in contact with a lot of people that you don't know. And they go, oh yeah, well Jeff got into real estate, you know, maybe call him. And that's going to be a domino effect throughout your business through different deals there. This sounds silly, but I identified a village, that's one of the things I won't tell you, early on that I thought I could do door hangers. I did it a couple of times. It's where you get out and you walk the neighborhood like this. Karen Falmar is where I kind of got this idea. She used to do a lot of it. Now she pays kids to do it. But door hangers, why? Well, you're not paying postage, and you meet people. And that's the backbone of my business is people, not all this other stuff. So do it on a hot day. Do it on in the middle of the day where people are cutting grass, stuff like that. Do it on a Saturday. Door hangers. Somebody sees you, walk up, hey, how are you? And you don't have to. I don't like cars similar where they come up, hey, John, would you like to buy a car today? You just say, hey, how are you, sir? The lawn looks good. And then they'll pick up the conversation. Door hangers, it worked for me. So there's a kind of free things to get out there and try to generate some business. I call this paid services, Realtor.com, Zillow.com, things where you can subscribe to something and pay something monthly. I think if we've been in business for a while, we've all probably done it. And I still am doing it. I'm backing out of something right now because it's expensive. Again, I'm looking at return on investment. Now, I know there's at least one person in here that is doing very well with one of these paid services, and that's great. I think you have to have patience with it. You definitely have to have follow-up when you get a lead, and that's going to be important whether it comes through floor time or whatever. I'm not a fan of that. I will probably try it again someday. Every January, not anymore, whenever there's time when there's a slower time for me, I like to say I sit in my office and I try to figure out how to refine my business to make more business and spend less money. And that's where you reevaluate these things, or Realtor.com, a Zillow, something like that where you're paying for leads. You need to track it. Did it work for me? If you're not getting money off of it, why are you giving those people money? So I'm not a fan of stuff like that. You know, you go to these, here I go on tangent again. You go to these little conferences or stuff like that, and you get good information from people teaching about real estate. But then you hear somebody that's trying to sell a product, and even in the apparel business, John can attest to this, you get caught up in the moment, oh, that's really cool. Yeah, I'll sign up. Oh, I've done that. And I've stopped that because it doesn't work. It gets down to working in your office, getting it done. So, like I said, I don't know. It was just, I did everything. And the main deal was probably my sphere of influence and the door hangers. That's where I got my first listings, was that neighborhood that I did that in. So you got some business. Well, no, you don't have business. While you're trying to work on creating business, there's some things you can do, younger agents, to prepare yourself. And I didn't know this until too late, probably. Even today, and we all have to maintain this, when we get in front of a client, we have to appear to be knowledgeable and intelligent. And that's one thing about real estate, it just keeps going on and on. You just can't get to a point where I'm good, I don't have to do anything else. So you can start that now when you're doing your floor time, when you're not out doing business, educate yourself. Sounds silly.
But every Tuesday, I'd go visit every house on tour when I was a lot younger. That way you're getting floor plans in your head, so when you walk into a house with a client, you can kind of act like you've seen it 1,000 times, something like that, but you identify with it. Before you go into a different part of the house, you can tell them what that part of the house is. So you're getting a perception of yourself that I'm a professional, whether I am or not. Go to educational classes, both RE/MAX and TREC. As you get busy, it's harder to do that, set aside time. I just had to scramble to get my last 9 hours for my October 31st MCE. You're stuck with me another year. So, go to those. You just...
Yeah, it's 2
so-
years.
Mhm, yeah.
2 years.
Yeah. This is key, and especially for me, because I'm not a technological giant. Zip forms, DocuSign, back agent, get into them, practice them, know them. Because when you start getting your business, it gets crazy, and you need to be able to move fast, efficiently. So learn them. Again, it's all making yourself appear to be knowledgeable. Know what the forms are. After you do enough of them, you should be able to know that the HOA addendum is whatever number it is. See, I've still got to work on it. So you're getting knowledgeable, and then you're starting to get business. Now the hard part starts, as far as I'm concerned. You need to have an infrastructure set up. It's like building a house. You have to have a foundation, because once you get the product, you need to be able to handle it in a manner that is productive and efficient, and you don't screw up, quite bluntly. So think what that infrastructure might be for you. Systems, checklists, things like that. Take yourself mentally through a transaction and say with the buyer, I need this or that. And not that I'm right or wrong. I know that Eunice has an incredible system. I know that Tammy does. Lorna's office does. These are just things that Jeff-isms, as I call them, and my clients get tired of hearing about Jeff-isms. But a seller transaction list. I am me, and Frank's talking to me back there again. I probably should have help and a team, but I don't, because I don't delegate well, and you don't care about that. But a seller transaction list. This helps me visually. I'm a visual guy. I come in every morning, I go through every little folder I have to make sure that I'm not letting something drop through the cracks, and it does sometimes. I have a buyer transaction list. This keeps me on top of it, because dates are so important in our business. Then a couple of Jeff-isms that have been helpful to me, and seller exclusion list. A lot of us in this office use these. There's not enough room on a contract to put all the exclusions. Overkill is better than underkill in our business, so I want to make sure that a buyer especially signs my exclusion list, so there's no chit-chat towards the end. And then a true Jeff-ism. I haven't seen anybody else with this, but we can be sued for anything, as y'all well know. There's two types of realtors, those who've been sued and those who are going to get sued. Inspections. We can't do anything except then hand it to them and say, here, go do it. The way that I handle it for a buyer is I have that, I got your buyer's representation agreement, your IAB, then I have an HARI, that list downstairs with thousands of, several inspectors on that you and I have never heard of. Then I have a list of inspectors, home inspection, termite inspection, AC inspection, stucco inspection, with names that I have used. And I gotta have more than one per category, so it doesn't look like I'm leading them to someone. Most of our buyers, as you know, I'll tell my buyer, I say, hey, here's the list. You're welcome to call them and set up your own inspections. If you need help with it, let me know. Well, my last form that I just started a couple of years ago, Buyer's Representation Agreement Attachment A, regarding the property at, put in the address. We, the buyers of the property located at the above address, acknowledge that we have instructed our realtor, Jeff Denning, to arrange inspections on our behalf from the following companies on the above property. Mechanical, structural, like that. I'm trying to watch my rear end here all the time. And that just goes with my listing package like that. Think about these things. These are the things you can do as you're sitting around, and you really got, I had to go through and learn. You have to do to learn, I think. And so you may come up with something brilliant. If you do, I'd love to hear about it too. But always trying to protect myself and serve the customer as best I can. So think about that. I have to set up a schedule for me. I don't know about y'all. And you can do something every day. And that's the challenge with real estate. When I got into it, I had a great applique line. I thought I could maintain my dillers, my pennies, the business like that, and do real estate. In my opinion, you cannot be a part-time realtor and expect good results. So to maintain that, I have to have my schedule every day. Mine's on a notepad. Most of y'all are more technical, you know that stuff, and you got the whatever they are, and this is what I do tomorrow and stuff like that. Mine is a notepad. If I ever lose my notepad, I'm in trouble. But at night, I write down what I need to do the next day, and you just got to do that. It's a disciplined business. Some days, I'm through by 10, and I'm on the golf course by 1. But you need to do stuff like that. So set up a schedule for specific chores every day. How to set up business, how to create it, not really sure. You got to figure that out. Put your systems in place, your organizational systems. And then once you get business, how do you maintain the business? How do you create ongoing business? And to me, this is the most important, because when I first started, I didn't know about what to do with once I get it. Communication is everything in this business. People knowing you and you knowing people are the key. My business today is 95% referral business, past relationships, stuff like that, and the other 5% is, who knows, reloads where you give them 40% of your commission, something like that. So how do I maintain my business? Well, it's staying in touch with them. Jeff is not a communication guy. Jeff is not a people. So what do? You're going to have to figure out how you're effective and what you're comfortable with. I found something that I'm comfortable with, so I do it religiously. The cheapest advertising is word of mouth. So that's why you stay in it. Somebody that bought a house yesterday, they're probably not going to buy a house for the next 3 to 5 years. But they're going to know people. And if you do a decent job, they're going to talk to people, and it's just exponential. It goes out like that. That's what happened to Eunice, 78 years ago. That's what happened to Tammy like that.
How many 78?
See, she didn't even phase her. But no. Well, you know what?
I was.
That's why Dennis is still in business and still a force. Is because they maintain relationships. JJ back there, that's how they do it. So that's what you need to do. You need to have a system to do that as well. Organize your business, transactions, systems, you need something here. Determine a method or system that keeps your name in front of clients at least 4 times a year. I think real estate people say at least 8 or 10 or something like that. I personally think that's annoying. I did get something, I got a call yesterday, and this is from a lady, and she starts going off on, we get your mail, we get this, and they get something from me every month, and sometimes twice a month, because it's an area that I really concentrate on. I thought, oh my God, she's going to complain about the mail. Because I've heard stories about that. And she said, we love it. And I said, really? Well, I'm signing up for that for 1 more year. But, so be prudent about your mail. It needs to be effective and informative, and not just, here's your, excuse me, because people probably in here do it. Not here's your Houston Astros baseball schedule, something like that. Another Jeffism, I think a lot of people in here that have been in business do it. Buyers, there's one easy way to do this once a year. January 2nd, address an envelope to every one of your buyers from the previous year. Send them a reminder to file your homestead exemption plus the forms. They may not do it, and tell them to do it right away. They may have already have their forms in closing, but that just puts your name in front of them 1 more time a year, and it's a service to them. At closing, actually, at the closing table, the escrow officer goes through what to do, and hear all this stuff I'm putting in your package. Forget about that. I got you covered. You don't have to worry about it. So do that. And I've tried, like I said, just about everything. The most effective thing for me, and I debated whether even to share this or not, because I'm a selfish person too, but the person that helped me most, I alluded to this in the front of it, gave me a bit of advice a long time ago, Rosalie Russell. And most of you don't know who she was, but she was a lady. And she was at the other Remax when we were split. And I don't know why she had the buyer from my first listing. And she just took me under her wing, and she was kind of, come here, Jeff, sit down. I'm going to tell you this type of person. And she told me, and we all remember, Green Tree, she dominated. She sent out a notepad. Why? Do you throw away a notepad? No. Well, I throw a couple of them away, but you don't throw away notepads. So they may not ever do anything, they may not even read what's on it, but they're not throwing away a notepad. I've been sending out notepads for 15 years. If you're interested, notepads worldwide, Kim, and I can't remember her husband, they're in Arizona. They have different designs, notepads worldwide. You can go online and look at the different things, but have your contact information on it. It's the only advertising that I voluntarily put my picture on. And then down at the bottom, I haven't put scripture verses. You try to put something that they're gonna remember you for. I figure if now I'm getting spiritual, if I'm going to have to advertise and be forced into this, I'm gonna do something for the Lord. So I put that there. Over 20 times, I've been in Randall's and trying to, not be Jeff Denning, Remax. I'll be in line and some lady will be standing behind me. She'll start looking at me and goes, I know you. Oh my gosh. If I hit your car, she goes, you send me notepads. And my kid, he puts horns on him and little mustaches, and I thought, she remembered. And that's what it's all about. You want them to remember you. So there it is. That's my secret. That's it. Nothing more. Decide what you can do. What do you like to do? Don't do what you don't like to do because you're not going to do it. So think of something effective that I can do every month. Systems are important. The main thing is keeping in contact with past clients, your sphere of influence, whether it be up at school, church, some sort of sports league. When I'm in groups like that and I'm back here, I'm not up there, somebody else say a name or something like that, I'll remember the name, go home, look up the address. They may be dancing with one of my girls or something like that, and start sending them notepads. And then I think you got to do it full time. I come in every morning, not that it's right or wrong. Don't have much to do some days, but go through it. Make sure you're organized, because the most embarrassing thing, and I've done this several times, is to forget something or something didn't get done on time. And that's my biggest challenge, and that's why I probably should be a whatever you team or whatever. But that's it. Questions, criticism, comments. And again, what I do is what I do. It may not be right for you. And I enjoy talking to some of the other agents that have been around and just listening to them, and you ultimately always pick up something.
Jeff, do you still do that in-depth study of comparables on an annual basis?
Yes, ma'am.
See, that's wonderful because you really know it. You know the properties then, more so.
Yeah, you
And the
can.
neighborhoods.
And if you don't, you can still appear to if you need to. I will not, when somebody asks me what their house is worth, I'll say, I think here, but I'll get back to you, because I don't want to go with, I've done this. Going, it's $120 square foot, and it's really 105. So I won't give them a definitive value or something like that until I have time to look at it. No, yeah, that's all part of the preparation in my mind. And we got to be smart. I've been in situations where I wasn't smart and I was wrong. It's a lot easier to study than to eat crow. So.
I think you stood out quite a bit when you did that though. Because you did a mailer to homeowners, right?
Yes, ma'am, and then I think the most professional one that I ever have seen is Ed Jones's. And I'm taking over that just because, it's like the notepad,
Yeah.
They know that red and blue trim around that 11 by 17 page.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing. I don't know if they read it, they do, but, so it's consistency.
Consistency.
Yes, ma'am.
And that's a great report, and it hadn't changed in, I don't know how many years. Ed always, and you're good about giving me one, and I kind of look at it, kind of helps me keep up with the market. But I will say a couple of things about Jeff, if it's okay. Jeff is he's pretty much what he just said, and that's the way I perceive him, and that's kind of the way we've kind of worked together. But he's so good about if he has a question, or if he learns something new, or he goes to any session, and he's always so good about coming by, dropping that off to me, saying, here's what I've learned, you may wanna use it, and it kind of ends there, but, the emotional part of this business, I don't think you really, I've never seen you really get caught up in that. And we've dealt with some issues, but you were just calm and moving forward and doing it and just, do a great job. So I think you're a really, really good person to kind of mimic and what you do. Anyway, so no, but then we'll talk about splitting that money up.
Yeah, I can. Well, you be yourself, don't try to be somebody else, and we see that a lot in this business. And somebody maybe said something earlier, it's embarrassing to me how many agents that are in this business that are not business people and not professional, and they don't act like it, they don't fill out their contracts in that fashion. And if you do, that's a very simple way to be noticed by maybe your buyer and their seller, or vice versa. I'm sure you've had too, where you've gone to a transaction and 5 years later, that other person on the other side of the table, the client, came to you, didn't go back to their agent. So there's so many ways to get business. You do something today, and that's gonna be reflected down the road. I get a call, well, it was a nice sized house. In the last 3 or 4 months, guy called me up one day and said, you came in, and he was a podiatrist, came in and I fixed your foot, I remembered you. Well, I also sent him notepads for the last 13 years. No, it's 13 years. And I remember getting my foot fixed. I didn't remember him. But see, things like that. You know, there are consequences for our actions. There are good consequences and there are not so good consequences. And that is, I feel like I'm talking to me or to my children here, but that's true. We can all still continue to do that.
Do you use Top Producer or anything like that to keep track of your people, or do you just Excel?
No. It cost money back whenever I was getting going. I have systems. I don't know if you're interested, but and John and I think Tammy, we've talked about this. I have on my computer, and this is technology simplified. I have, as far as transactions, I have a 2015 folder. When I get a listing from Kathy Itel, I create a new folder within that folder, and it's Itel with your address. I put listing agreement, so I put all the documents for that into here. This is why careful, Jeff. This is why I was fine without back agent. But I understand the back agent went in. Back agent went in for the convenience and whatever for the office, so I'm cool with that. I got that down, I studied it, so I'm cool. But I still do my own folder here where I've got all my transactions. Elizabeth takes pictures of your houses, I put my pictures in there. At the end, and so that goes on all 2015. January 1st, I'll burn all my transactions to a hard drive disk. I still keep written paper stuff up in the attic for 5 years. And then I throw them away. I'm still not secure enough to throw all that away, but I've got them, so that's one deal there. As far as people and databases, when you're meeting people and you're getting addresses, stuff like that, I've got their Excel. So one sheet would be Phillies, okay? Last name, first name, street address, street, Kingwood, Texas, zip. And so when I do my mailings, there I've got my forms like that. I can add and delete. One of the hardest or the most boring parts of the job is like for an area that Kings Point, I do Kings Point. And before I mail out something, it irritates me when I realize, oh, that house sold and I just spent 60 cents on a notepad, whatever postage is, to send somebody that doesn't care. So I go through, and if it has sold in the last 12 months, they don't get that edition. Then I put them back on. So that, it's just, there's all sorts of little things. And it's taken 17 years, and I'm still refining. But yes, I have the Excel sheets for that. And then, these little sheets have helped me. I started those about a year ago when I got crazy. And they help me. So yes, I have my own Jeffisms. Plus, back agent is just marvelous, and it's right there if I need it. You know what? This is a lot easier for me than looking at the back agent screen and trying to figure out, what was tan and what was green and what, But if that helps out Carolyn McCauley, then I will absolutely do anything. Plus, I have to. I joke about it, it's not that bad.
No, but because he's organized, it makes back agent easier for him.
That is true.
Because he has the folders, he has all the data in those folders. He's not going back to emails and he's not trying to find it, oh, where did I save it on my computer? So when we say document management, that's what we're talking about. Jeff is managing his documents, so it's much easier for him to get that data into back agent, even though he doesn't like it, but it's still easy for
You
him.
know, and and I wouldn't, but it's, a lot of people help me out. Barbara Noonan, and I'm gonna miss some people, Joan Imperato, and they were in the other office at the time, Alice Pope, Eunice, I've done deals with her, I learn every time I do something with her office. But you learn from people like that, and that's where keep every document. I'm just thinking, what do I need that for? Well, 3 years down the road, I may need it.
I have a question about back agent.
Oh, great.
When we upload into back agent, do we have a backup that's saving those files? Because if everybody's putting their stuff in there and not keeping a copy like Jeff is.
It's
I've
out there
heard-
for 5 years.
Yeah, but
and
I've
they
heard-
back it up. They do
Okay,
back it up.
because there was one point that back agent lost a bunch of files and they had to be recreated. They couldn't retrieve them. So I think it's important for everybody, you better keep a back copy for yourself.
Well, and to also remember that we don't request everything in your file.
Right.
Because, like, we're picking on Eunice. Eunice is really good about notes to people, personal notes and things like that. She likes to keep that in the file. We're not requiring that. But if she's keeping her files, she wants to keep that. She wants the correspondence from her people too. So again, that's document management. You know, there's what we want, which is probably 85% of what's actually in your file.
Right, a lot of collateral.
Yeah.
Well, I agree. And what I'm not good at keeping emails, because you get so many, and it's just like, to delete. But I'm trying to get better, and Shannon has been a great, this transaction we got going on, because we're acting as furniture brokers, saving emails, and I'm not good at that. So in my, Kathy Itel, 1234 Main Street, a new folder in there is emails. But I need to get, and you are helping immensely with that. So just keep all your emails too. Somebody says, well, you said this, and you go back, oh, well, no, on such and such date, there it is. This business is all about hope for the best, but plan for the worst. I don't want to be sued. You good?
All right, thank you, Jeff.
Appreciate it.